Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Field Pass. This is Dan, and I have John joining me on the heels of another Illini victory, a bounce back game versus USC. And we'll look ahead here shortly to the Purdue game this week, a trophy game, the Little Cannon, the Big Drum Little Cannon. We never can have a Field Pass episode without mentioning those two things.
A matchup unlike any other when you get these two programs together and you get the contrast of what you would think to be the little thing being the big thing and the big thing being the little thing.
And I'll
I think
tell you, John,
what we should do is we should put that big drum right in front of I don't care if they're shooting blanks. They need to put it right in front of the cannon that they have in the South Horseshoe that they fire after every single touchdown, or sometimes when a team is trying to run a 2-point conversion against Purdue,
Yep.
just put the drum right in front of them and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen?
Last year's debacle, like the worst best victory
Yeah.
we've ever had, a 50-49 overtime win against Purdue, where we choked away like a 3-score lead in the second half to an offensive coordinator, Ryan Walters, not even a defensive coordinator, head coach, Ryan Walters. He actually took the reins after never having called offense and just said, I'm calling the offense this week, and somehow pieced together with Ryan Brown and Devin Mockabee, like the greatest comeback that wasn't of all time, and the biggest sigh of relief I've ever had on a 2-point conversion where Rosiak put Ryan Brown in the dirt to walk it off. But we certainly want to avoid another game like that this week.
But at the same time, with these kind of games and with the fact that Purdue, it doesn't matter who the head coach is, but obviously when it was Ryan Walters, it meant a little bit more. It just seems to be a program that kind of has Brett's number a little bit. And, I'd love to see the tide turn, but regardless, you just got to win by 1 point. Just get one more point than them and survive in advance, baby.
Well, I guess I'll take a quick victory lap on my current victory.
That's what I was going to say.
For USC. My prediction came through again.
4-0.
Undefeated this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, a little preview for Purdue, but I think I'm going victory this week. So hopefully I can keep the train going. But
wow. Really going out on a limb there.
Yeah. I was going to say Illinois' offense looked pretty darn good against USC, a team that by some metrics has the best offense in the country. Even, like after the game this past week, they still maintain on, I think, Ford's ratings. They're the number one offense. And by most metrics, Jaden Mayav is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And yet Illinois still put up more points, was able to get the job done in dramatic fashion nonetheless. But a testament to the improvements after the Indiana struggles the week before.
It's amazing knowing, like, I'm pretty sure I texted this to multiple people, but just being able to hit they scored too quickly text when, like, honestly, you're kind of like hoping for a touchdown there because, like, you just want Luke to get the ball with enough time. And the way that the defense was looking, it was just a matter of when, not if, it felt like.
Right.
And I don't really know. It's so cliche to just be like, someone needs to step up and make a play. But, like, I just feel like we haven't had anyone emerge as that guy yet in terms of, like, I know that there were some good things against Duke and that Tanner Heckel, had the forced fumble and the interception and that Gabe had the forced fumble. Like, everyone kind of got theirs. And that's a good Duke offense. So I'm not trying to necessarily diminish it or minimize that, but, like, there just hasn't been the consistency in terms of, like, the one guy. And that's okay, because, like, you can win with not having the one guy at a place like Iowa. I just don't know if, one, we have the scheme, or if, two, we have the dudes to be like an Iowa team for the past 20 years where it's just like, oh yeah, everyone is so fundamentally sound and knows their gap scheme, or they know their zone, or they know exactly where they're going, that it doesn't really matter that they're, a 3-star from the cornfields of Iowa. Like, things are going to get taken care of. So I don't know. I don't feel great about the defense coming out of it, but I am glad that I was wrong, I guess, for the second week in a row.
Yeah. I mean, credit to the offense for the bounce back and leading the way. I thought the offensive line was much improved this week. There's several times watching us, move USC defensive linemen off the line of scrimmage. I think we only allowed one sack as well to the team.
The one where Luke almost got he did. Like, that was, I was worried about his head. I mean, yeah, he got the bad hit on the back, but, like, whoo, do not let him take many more of those, please.
I say, who took the worst hit? Luke on that play or Hank Beatty on his Philly
on any
special.
play. I
Yeah.
mean, Hank just loves getting hit. I mean, not that it's his fault. It's just like the way with how gritty he is and the way that he stays in a play. It's just like he makes it. He's still enough of a target that I'm worried about him, and he got absolutely clocked on
I
that
think
one. But hey, he delivered the ball.
he'd take 12 of those hits a game if he knew everyone was going to result in a touchdown pass, but it's
Make the entire team out of Hank Beatty.
yeah, we need to keep him on the field as much as possible. One of the greater catches I can remember of him somehow getting his 2 feet inbounds, got them both
Unreal.
down. That the realization in seeing the replay from them being like, yeah, he had to have been out of bounds to actually wait, no, he is somehow inbound. And then the crowd reaction when they reversed it too was pretty awesome.
That's one of those where like I feel like you and I both, but like me personally, like watching a game, I feel like I have pretty good sense of like being able to tell a flight of a football or knowing kind of like where things are as they're happening in a play and how it's going to flow. That was one of those where I was like, oh, almost assuredly that ball was too far out of bounds for him to get his feet in, and even just like the trajectory and the way that he was leaning. I was like, oh, no shot. Like he definitely was out of bounds. But to see how clean that was and the fact that it was I'm pretty sure that was 2 feet. Like
Yeah.
that was good on Sundays. That's just he's putting together quietly a very special season. And then I personally, as a big Hank Beatty guy, love to see it. Not that aren't all Hank Beatty guys, but you know, there's a certain draft that happened in a certain group text with some of the other old heads that you know I might have gotten Hank Beatty on my on my 2-man squad, him and Mr. JTJ. So we're happy about how Hank's doing.
Yeah, and USC even had a play on the sideline as well where I think it was like a broken play and the running back kind of leaked out last second down the sideline and looked like it was a first down conversion and somehow they looked and said he stepped out of bounds. And I don't think we ever got the full replay of it, but it was the weirdest play because I was like, oh, that's an unfortunate just leak
Bad
from the
awareness.
defense to
Yeah.
allow this running back to get behind the linebackers on the sideline and just get him a first down, move the chains. And somehow the guy either bobbled it or just like landed his heel on the out of bounds line. So a couple plays like that that go our way end up mattering quite a bit in a game like that goes down to the wire, but we'll
Yeah,
take it.
especially when you do absolutely everything to give them the game. I mean, it's something that I know like Robert talked about that a bunch and just kept repeating it and it's from the stands and like obviously it's the most known portion, but like 2 fumbles at the 1 yard line and being able to win that game, that's like something that just doesn't happen. Like that's what happens like when we happen to get a win in previous regimes. Like we would need that kind of luck on top of the fact that we needed to play like a semi-competent game.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were the ones who made some egregious mistakes and still found a way to win, that's just like a testament to how good the offense was, how well coached Brett had those guys, and how locked in they were for a game like this. Because yeah, I think I don't really have. I mean, it's great that the offensive line bounced back, and I'm glad that they, you know, are hopefully going to have returned to form much like they did last year. It's still very unfortunate that it took them similarly to last year, like 4 or 5 games to finally get it. But at the same time, like I'm now confident that they have it to a point that the floor isn't going to just fall off. And against a team like Purdue, I know that we'll get into it later, but like if you just protect Luke, like CJ Carr, it's great and all that, like, but Luke is either better or just more seasoned, so he should be able to carve him up too. So like that's something where the offensive line needs to have arrived. Like this can't just be something where, oh, we had that one good game where we locked in and, you know, USC has a bunch of athletes, but not necessarily a bunch of physical defenders. And we just ran it all over them. And we didn't really run it all over them, but it was one of those where we were definitely taking them to task. So good to see, but I'm hopeful, much like last year, that it'll be here to stay. But definitely something worth monitoring. Definitely something worth monitoring as we're going up against a Purdue team that, you know, might not have the greatest front seven.
Yeah. It seems like the defense definitely got the message. They played much better. Or sorry, the offensive line got the message. They played much better. I think the defense needs to still take things to heart because there were several plays where I thought, you know, our energy or our desire was lacking. And I liked seeing a boost from a guy like Jaheim Clark who came in and played well, scooped up a fumble right away, had a big, you know, fourth down bat down on a 4th and 5 or 6 or whatever it was. He seemed to be all over the field making plays, and you need a boost from a guy like that when the defense is a little bit banged up. You're mixing in new guys, still trying to, seems like experiment at this point, just given the results of the Indiana game and honestly the Duke game as well. We weren't dominant in either of those games, and I think Aaron Henry and I think the assistant coaches on the defensive side of the ball are still trying to figure out what the personnel package is and who's going to rise to the occasion. And I still think there's plenty to figure out, but a team like Purdue is the opportunity to get right and hopefully prepare yourselves for a massive game against Ohio State in a couple weeks.
The one thing that does give me confidence is that this is kind of in the same vein as the offensive line. This is kind of when JMO starts to cook and like you start seeing very consistent, very good play. Not that they haven't been pretty good from the defensive line, but this is just when you're kind of expecting for there to either be a bit of a fall off or maybe a plateau, and his guys continually get better throughout the season. So this is something where, going up against Purdue, they haven't been able to really run the ball that successfully, but continuing to impose your will at the line of scrimmage is going to be very important.
Yeah, and I do want to add too, I saw some Tanner Heckle hate out there, just given a couple great plays by Mekhi Lemon. I thought, I mean, this is maybe a counterculture opinion from what I was seeing out there. Everyone saying, Heckle is getting destroyed, but I thought he was positionally in the right spot on both of those touchdown plays where he was draped all over Mekhi Lemon, and it was just a better throw in one of the scenarios. And the other one, it was just kind of a mistimed turning of his head and not getting his hand up, but like, he was stride for stride with one of the best receivers in the country. And it's just, that comes with experience and, knowing when to turn your head and the timing of everything. And part of that's just Lemon's an incredible receiver, but I don't have too many concerns at this point about Tanner Heckle being out there. And I saw some opinions that would disagree with me, but I thought he played all right.
I agreed. I think him figuring it out this year is going to be huge because I wish that we had Xavier and Juice opposite each other, because that'd be something that can go up against, a team like Ohio State. Even like I would have a lot of hope against even those great receivers that they have. But now it's going to be one of those where you're going to need guys to continue to step up week after week in the defensive backfield. Great seeing a guy like Sabor Kareem, a 4-star on some recruiting services, has kind of been biding his time. There was talk about him from Brett Bielema himself that, this might have been a guy who had a similar conversation and reaction that Malik Elzy did and maybe wasn't playing in that game. And then he goes in and has just a massive impact for Matt Bailey getting injured and him coming in and making some key sticks, playing is about as well as I would probably expect him to for a guy who hasn't taken many meaningful snaps in big games. So I'd say that, monitoring the defensive backfield, even though we kind of thought that this was a strength, obviously injuries and or suspensions or just, up and down play is kind of, throwing a wrench in that. But that's going to probably be what continues to drive this season, much like it kind of, I feel like has been for Illini defenses under Brett Bielema. It's kind of how you go as the defensive backfield goes. And this is something where I'm just hoping that, a guy like Sabor Kareem maybe has played his confidence up to where he's getting more and more reps and you're able to do maybe some more things with your 5 DB packages. So
I have a one gripe with the coaching staff or strategy this week that
I know what this is.
My boomer take was, I thought we got caught up too much in the substitution game, and Bielema does that from time to time. Like, that's his thing. And to his credit, I guess, one of the times it was a legitimate mistake. The refs didn't stop play. They subbed out their running back. And I think I retweeted someone else that posted the clip of that.
That was so obvious. Yeah.
It was a very obvious one. They didn't give it to him. But there was a couple downs where our defense wasn't even set, and we had no play call in there, and they were running hurry up, and we're all looking to the sideline, and they ended up getting a 20-yard pass on an out route that we weren't even set up and ready for. And I was a little disappointed this week because I felt like he was so focused on the substitution game and worrying about that like we struggled to get play calls in and missed a couple opportunities just to line up correctly on the defensive side of the ball. So that's my boomer take of the week, and you can take it or leave it.
I'll leave it to a degree, but I do think that there is a bit of getting cute with it, because I mean we even saw this a couple years ago where it's like you have Johnny Newton, a top 50 NFL player, like arguably a first round pick if he doesn't hurt himself. Like, you have that guy, you don't, just for the sake of the bit of getting your defense a bit of extra seconds to, rest or recuperate or get play calls, and you don't take him off the field in, 3rd and 3s or 3rd and 5s, or you put Johnny Newton on the field as much as he possibly can be on the field. And so that's one of those where, like, I remember thinking that and being like, okay, is this really kind of worth it? But if it's part of almost like the DNA of the team that you're gonna, make them either frustrated or just be so aware or kind of steal those seconds and find the little edges, like if that creeps into other areas of the team that maybe we're not as privy to, or even levels of confidence that it instills because players think that they're getting one over the other, or I don't know, just the fact that it gets in other coaches' head so consistently, like I'll take the somewhat bad with mostly the good because I do think it is kind of an aware move. But I think it, to your point, like you got to have, if you're getting this extra time, like you either need to be sending a guy in from the sideline, knowing if a great offense like USC is running quick game and you're going to get this little, reprieve. Well, then maybe the adjustment is to, and I don't know exactly how they signal their calls, so I'm just kind of like coming up with this on the fly. But you can't have guys looking over the sideline the moment that things get set. Like you have to, maybe you send the first guy in and he is, clearly relaying what the primary call would be, and if they check to this one thing, then you have a secondary call. I don't know exactly how they relay these things, but you have to have some kind of counter if they are putting it on you, even when you are doing your very aware moves of, oh yeah, we're getting these extra couple seconds, or we're catching USC a little bit more off guard, or they're not able to keep it rolling with their offensive momentum. Totally get that, but you have to have the counter to the counter then. So it's, and that's football. So I understand that Brett's probably aware of that, but it is, maybe getting a little cute.
Yeah, the other guy who was getting cute with it, but in a good way, was Barry Lunny. How about all the shovel passes? Are we now just the shovel pass capital of the world? All we do is at least two of them this game. Beatty got one, and I don't know if it was
some in other games too.
Fagan got one on that fourth down call. But and then we had the Philly special touchdown to Luke. We were cooking. Barry was in the lab cooking after the Indiana loss.
I love that the playbook has enough customizability that like he can see it, even the little quick screen to Colin Dixon where they lined up in a diamond on the goal line, and then they motioned Khalil, and then they just threw a quick screen to him and he just kind of walked across the goal line. Like it's fun seeing plays that you're like, oh, this is a fun play from Twitter that like an NFL team runs, and knowing that, well, not that Barry Lunny is looking at Twitter, but like, oh, he might take a play like that. Think this is a cool concept. We're going to savor this for later. And then you just see something like that happen where, you're running a bunch of shovel passes like you're the Chiefs, or you're doing the Philly special. It's very cool to have an offensive mind like that.
Yeah. Even like the kind of drag screen to Christian Abney, like a leak out. He had everyone going one way and had him leak out the other way, go for a first down. Beautiful. There's some great play calls this week, and even got Caden Fagan in space. I mean, that's where he thrives. I know Khalil Valentine, in my opinion, is the better ball carrier vision in between the tackles, can kind of maneuver and slither through an offensive line, whereas Caden Fagan's a force, but only when he gets up to speed. And finally got him on the perimeter with speed on that swing pass and was able to, he kept his feet in bounds. Talking about Hank Beatty keeping his feet in bounds, but that was a close one. Fortunately, they didn't call it back live on the field. And we may have even got away with a hold on the edge on that one as well. But hey, home cooking when you're the home team, you got to get a couple calls every now and again. And it was good to see Caden Fagan. He got downhill. He was thumping, it seemed like, this week and carrying guys for first downs. And then Bielema always talks about kind of the different style backs. And then Khalil comes in there and he's going to break a tackle in the backfield. And all of a sudden he, cuts it outside and cuts it upfield. And he's like a little rabbit bouncing around, and he's hard to bring down. So you got two very different style running backs, and I thought both guys had good games, and that was kudos to the O-line for coming and answering the bell this week.
Yeah, you love that we use the entire 53 and a third on both sidelines, getting the toes in bounds. So, and I do kind of love that play mirrors the screen from Minnesota 2 years ago. That Fagan, that was like his first big play where I think he went like 20 or 21 miles per hour. So it's good to see that like you get him in space, and that might just be kind of like the way that you use him as a weapon is maybe scheming up more things like that, which you would think is more like a third down backish type of look. But to your point, maybe Khalil being more of the quote unquote true running back is kind of that first and second down guy. And then you use a big back like Caden who can maybe pass block, but then also leak out. And maybe if a defense is sacking, then he's got more space to work with and get up to speed, and then make a couple people miss or just run away from them. So I I mean, he was my pick of the week, but I still am a little bit disappointed, and not just even with like the fumble because that wasn't a fumble, but
Yeah.
there's just a couple things with the way that his run style. He just needs to play behind his pads, and for some guys even make it to the NFL and they're bigger backs and they just don't quite get it, or they never quite run behind their pads to the degree that they should, and maybe that's just his misgiving as a college back, and he can still be very good, and I think they can coach some instincts into him, but. I'm just I don't want to use the word disappointed because of course he had a great game and had a huge play, but it's just one of those where I'm wanting more, and he seems like a great kid, so like I know that he wants more too. So it's not one of those where it's like I'm beguiled by his lack of caring, but it's more of like a man. I just really hope that it clicks sooner than later for a guy like him.
Yeah. Like you said, that fumble, all time bogus, non reversal. Just come on, miss me
Use
with
your
that.
common sense. What like we should? I hate I've thought about this. Like you and I are like everyone out there who is pretty aware as a sports fan. Like you can tell through common sense that that was not a fumble, that he was going to the ground, he hit, and then his shoulder hitting that probably chain reacted through his arm into his elbow, then caused the ball to squirt out. Like it's not hard to put two and two together and get four. Like yes, you might not see it perfectly, but this I wonder if them changing the language to upheld being like the standard, if it because I think it was before it was like confirmed or reversed. Like you had to
Yeah.
confirm it and then you would reverse. And so I don't know what they're doing, but just like if 50 people at a bar can tell you that with a 75 to 85% confidence rating that that thing was not a fumble, then it should be pretty easy to tell that like yes, that was not a fumble.
It should be, to your point, I think like across the country, anyone who's got like YouTube TV or whatever, they go to every market, and if there's a controversial play, there's a little pop-up on your screen that says like cast your vote to like 100 random fans across the country. If there's at least an 80+% chance, or 80+% response that it should be reversed, or on the same side of whatever the call is, then that should just be like the common sense test. And anything that's kind of caught in between, that's where it goes up to the refs for review. Because to me, I was like, man, that's the most common sense. I think if you asked 100 USC fans, 99 of them say that's not a fumble. He was
They would
down.
totally admit that. Yes, exactly.
And so I was disappointed in that call. And then the one thing Khalil Valentine did, and I'm like, I said it right before. I'm like, you're about to go up 2 scores. All you need is a field goal to go up 2 scores. The only thing you can't have right now is a turnover. Protect the football, protect the football. And his eyes probably got wide open when he kind of burst through and had a look at the end zone. And next thing you know, he's fumbling the ball, and then Tanner Arkin's falling on his face.
That was I'm not I still haven't really processed any anger towards Khalil because seeing that real time, you kind of like see the bodies moving and you're like, okay, like yeah, Khalil fumbled, but you see a USC body and an Illini body kind of moving towards it, and you're like, oh, the Illini body has like the angle and like they can just knock him down. And then I'm just like, why did we not grab the ball? How did we not grab the ball? Like this is we should have gotten Robert on because this is the turnover fairy like reverting back and like in a situation where we clearly should have had that fumble recovery and we just didn't. And I guess that's part of his regression to the mean thing like that. Yeah. That one we can chalk up and say, okay, we're back. We can get back in the good graces because I just don't know how like that doesn't end up as a touchdown. I was like, not even once again, I wasn't even pissed at Khalil. I was like, oh, this is going to work out well for us. Like we're going to get a touchdown here. And then it's just like, wait, what just happened? And now they're going to go and score like almost assuredly. Like what? Now you're trying to process this when you're just like, oh yeah, Colin Dixon with a sweet move and the ability to get up the field. Like, yeah, he maybe should work on that breakaway speed, but still, like the USC has a bunch of studs on their defense that the one thing they can do is run fast. But you're like, oh, maybe they can milk some clock. They're going to go up 2 scores. I feel great, and then it just turns into some tomfoolery, and that was no fun.
Yeah, and Wayman Jordan had a similar fumble where Leon Lowry comes and kind of grabs the ball from the side behind, and it just pops out forward and bounces right into Jaheim Clark's lap. But both of our fumbles were right at the edge of scoring, like it in the red zone, close to the goal line, and both times fumbling. That was just, I don't know. I thought that was brutal.
We won the turnover fairy regression game. Not only did we win the game where we fumbled twice inside the 5, but we won the turnover fairy regression game. So
Right.
I'm ready for us to maybe savor a few for the Purdue game, maybe not use them, but then when USC comes to Champaign and that Illy Buck is looking real nice, maybe the turnover fairy just gives us a couple gifts.
What'd you think of Big Noon kickoff and all the fanfare that came with a big national TV game?
I mean, I love, and actually this ties in perfectly with like a point that I want to make about the whole storming the field thing and the old man, get off my lawn. Like these kids, maybe it's because we're all jealous. I'm not. I love it. Like I think that 18 to 20 some year olds, 23, 25-year-olds, like just go out and enjoy it. And if it requires for you to do something like that, where you're, storming the field against a rank, like we're Illinois, like that's not to say that we can't act like we've been there before, but also like, is it a crime that we stormed the field after a huge ranked win when, you got absolutely pounded by IU and it was probably cathartic for the kids to do that. Like, I don't know. I love that then kind of keeps them engaged. You got the Big Noon kickoff, all the fanfare with that. You get people giving their takes online that I don't care about, but just like as an aside, like if you're, old man, get off my lawn, then this is sports. Like it's not supposed to, like as much as we love to break it down rationally, as much as we like to think about it rationally, as much as we like to react rationally when it's like, oh, there was clearly an interception that is going to get called back on an offsides. It's like, yeah, we see that and we know like, oh yeah, we're not going to get excited because the flag clearly came out. Like you're not like we're trying to make the fans smarter, but at the same time, you're still being a fan. Like you can go out there and you can storm the field. You can have fun. You can enjoy the fact that you beat a blue blood. Like USC is technically a blue blood. Like, I don't know. It's just so frustrating but it is great seeing all the fun times that they had with the Big Noon kickoff and the fact that Champaign, put on for that. And hopefully, I don't know if it's going to happen against Ohio State. It probably won't. That game day will show up, but like maybe it bodes well if we somehow squeak out a victory there, that they'll come around town and we'll show out again.
Yeah, I mean, game day from my research on it typically is only going to be where they have an ESPN affiliated game, and since that game's on Fox, unless there's some sort of week of shenanigans where they change the scheduling, which I know there's some weird rules out there of which
you would have to take something
special,
yeah.
But game day won't be there, but it sounds like Big Noon kickoff, assuming the game stays on Fox, which it was drafted to be. Big Noon kickoff will be back again next week for the Ohio State game. So we get the same crew back. And I mean, unfortunate for them, I guess, when they have all these other fun SEC destinations that they have to come back to Champaign again. But you'd rather do it now than do it in November when it's a little less fun to spend your Saturday in Champaign. But hey, we love it. Illini boys.
Yeah, it was great. Sorry for going off on that, but it was like I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the fact that like it's funny that I think Robert referenced this in his article, but like I think most of us kind of understand that we're in the good old days right now. Like this is the time to enjoy them because the fact that we just bounced back from a crushing loss against a top 10 ranked team when we were a top 10 ranked team, and that the resilience that we had to beat a ranked team at home that has a lot of talent, has a coach that has gotten to the playoffs many times, has the number one ranked offense. Like these are all things that in years past, it would just kind of be a given that, oh yeah, we're going to kind of tuck our tail and maybe this season we can salvage a couple wins. And I know that that's the natural instinct of like, I've talked to people who their natural instinct is to just kind of like be like, okay, we're back in this pessimistic cycle. It's like, we got to break out of that. And maybe like, that's just the way you fan and I'm not going to be able to change that, whatever. But like, you really are doing yourself a disservice because these are the days. This is when the going is good and it could get better. That's the great thing. But the floor has been set at such an unprecedentedly high level in recent vintage that like enjoy it, please. Like yeah, I know that I was the one who picked against us last week, but like I think that there were some rational takes within that, and that I didn't see it be like this huge blowout and like, oh, the season's over and we're gonna win 5 games. Like no, but at the same time, it's like you can't just default to everything blowing up. And I know that we're a hurt fan base, but just please try as much as you can to enjoy it. Try and find the positive. And just don't immediately revert to the negative because I know that we're hurt in a multitude of ways over a multitude of sports fandoms, wherever you are. If you're somewhat Chicagoland, if you're just a fan of any team, you usually get your heart broken. I get it. But please enjoy this for what it. Believe that you can go 10-2. Believe that you can find it. I've switched up my math from okay. I was hoping we would split. Duke IU. That was the big one. Can you split those two? Maybe win both of them. You split that one. Can you split USC and Ohio State? Well, now I'm getting greedy. I'm like, can we split Ohio State, Washington, and then maybe only have 2 losses? Like, believe that. Try and think. Like, just let yourself think about it and be happy that you can think that because it's not the most likely thing, but just let it happen because Brett Bielema is a great coach. This is a great team. Luke Altmaier. Well, this could be a great team. Luke Altmaier is a great quarterback. Barry Lunny is calling the best plays. Just let yourself believe one time. I'm begging you.
I love it. That's what we need. That's the energy we need with this fan base right now. A fan base that could use that energy too. USC, I have to ask you about the message board geniuses and the upset stomach food poisoning rumor that was going around that several USC players were under the weather and people are trying to, when I say people, like 3 USC fans are trying to make this storyline that somehow the Illinois team hotel or the USC hotel, the Champaign hotel staff decided they were going to like undercook the chicken or the pot, like, I don't know, something.
Yeah. They were going to put bacteria in their food. Yeah.
A pasta sauce or something. I don't know what it was, but it always makes me happy when teams have to like go that, or fan bases have to go down that route. Like there's no way we lose to Illinois. And if we did, it's not because they beat us. It's because some crazy story that caused us to lose.
Listen, I'm not calling them stupid, but I'm just saying it's a sign of low intelligence when you're talking about a football team and you're putting the entirety of one game, maybe the entire season, around one player. There is at minimum 25 to 40 dudes who impact a game over the course. If you're saying that one guy, like, yes, I'm not saying that in college one dude can't make the world of difference, but if you're talking about a non-quarterback impacting the game to that nth of a degree, it's like, you guys need to figure something out in Southern California, because if that's if your roster is hanging on by a thread of a dude potentially having a little stomach bug and that's going to derail the entire season, you need to get yourselves checked out because this is crazy. Like, yes, it's a lot of cope and I get it that they need to have an outlet, but like, just be better. Just be better.
They're not doing themselves any service with their West Coast soft mentality that everyone gives them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're coming off as the classic. Just go back to the Pac-12, give us the money that we've gotten off you, and go back home.
Those big Midwest meanies really took our lunch money and then sent us packing on our flight home. We have the longest travel schedule of any program in the country. We got to go coast to coast and play at 11 a.m. and we have to play Purdue. That's tough. So and then we got to play Illinois. That's tough too. But you know what else?
It's not like we played Notre Dame every other year.
You know who else has to play Purdue? Illinois this week. Ross-Ade Stadium on the road. The Battle of the Beef House is back. As we said, Little Cannon, big drum, a matchup made in heaven. And let's just say Ryan Brown, maybe not the worst player ever. Did Illinois create a monster in Ryan Brown after last year?
Yeah, I shudder to think of the fact that we had the Graham Mertz in 2020 and Ryan Brown in 2024, just showing off the best that a man can be. But I mean, it kind of gives me a bit of I take some solace in the fact that he's been as productive as he has been against not just us, and that wasn't some aberration. Yeah. He didn't he wasn't great to end the year last year, but the fact that he's kind of bounced back and he shows that he's got some chops makes me feel a bit better about it all.
Yeah. Passed for 250 plus yards in 3 of their 4 games this year. And I think he ran for 118 on us last year. He's not quite running the ball to that degree this year. Although there was the one play earlier in the season that was, I don't know if you saw this. It's like a top 10 or not top 10 play. I don't even know which, because it was a pass back to Ryan Brown that should have been intercepted by USC. And the guy that was intercepting it fumbled it. And then Ryan Brown picked it up and ran it in the end zone like 40 yards. Just an all-time college football play. And I don't know if he got any. That's probably his only substantial rush yards this year. But he seems to be somehow a pocket passer now. And his PFF grades back it up. I think he's over 80 on the season PFF grade wise. And
I'm looking at it right now. He's the only one over 80. Yeah. 82.5.
Yeah. So he's had an unbelievable year, although their offensive line has struggled mightily. They've for as good as Ryan Brown's been, it's hard to overcome, a bad offensive line. And I think the last two games, the USC game, for Purdue and the Notre Dame game, they went for like 52 rush yards in one of the games and 76 team rush yards in the other. And they're really struggling to run the ball with a good running back in Devin Maccabee, who we've seen run all over us. I think he had 12 carries for 16 yards last week. And that's knowing how good of a running back he is. That's not on him. That's just a sign that the offensive line has been porous. And I think our defensive line is going to eat this week.
Well, and to your point, just because I agree with everything you said, and no need for me to be redundant and just say the same exact thing just with my own words. I do think that your point about the fun plays and them doing the handoff to the throwback to the touchdown, like they're bringing out all the stops. And I wonder if Odom's got a little bit of the Bielema in him, where he's always kind of looking for his opportunity to get his one trick play in a game. So I guess you kind of always have to be on the lookout for it. But I also feel like they've used up like all their big guns. Like they had the super creative play with the handoff to the pass that got him a touchdown against ND, the fake punt, the play against USC you just detailed. Like they're kind of maybe running out of resources, and yes, you have to account for them, so that takes a little bit of your scout time away from it. But like that's something where I'm wondering if at this point in the season, it's kind of getting to like you can't really just be banking on the trick plays. And I know Ryan Walters actually did that to us last year, where it just seemed like every misdirection or double move play that he dialed up worked to perfection. So maybe I shouldn't be talking so early, but this feels like something where they've kind of shown their hand, and at the very least, you would hope the guys would be a bit more aware or wary at the very least of the trick plays.
I just thought of one thing going back to the USC game, but also going back to the Purdue game last year. How about Lincoln Riley going for two down 2 scores? That's the same thing that happened to us in the Purdue game last year, where it's the most hopeless feeling as a fan base. As soon as you give that up, you're like, now we're losing the game. And like, Purdue last year had to get the onside kick, and there still was a lot that had to go. But like when the momentum shifts like that, it's so deflating. And I don't know how to like, there's probably not numbers to support it, but it's just this like sinking feeling when that happens. And when USC went for 2, I was immediately like, well, we just lost that game, and fortunately,
yes, you were. Yeah.
Luke had other thoughts, and like you said, maybe they scored too early, gave us too much time to march back down, and we have a kicker that is clutch and is ready for the big moments, and that's a luxury in college football. But I just had to touch on the fact that they went for 2 down 2 scores. Is I think you and I are both fans of that move, and traditional talking heads would probably say otherwise.
Yep. It's good to even get that used against you. So then that's something that I know Bielema is like aware of that stuff because of all the advanced analytics that I know he learned in like the pros and that they talked about when he was with the Patriots and all that good jazz. But it's always good to much like how Barry Lunny probably takes a lot of what he sees, having it done to you, then, it gives you the idea of, oh, maybe we'll deploy that. I did. I think it was the first touchdown, right? Where there was the penalty, like move it up and go for 2. Like that's something where I'm a big fan of. Anytime you get the chance to get 1 yard, and especially after that first drive, like you've been taking it to task against a what seems to be a pretty soft defensive front that you're going up against on that day. And still, 9 something their body clocks, like just run it down their throats for 1 yard and put yourself up 8-0. Like that's something where I would like to see that. I mean, it's very nitpicky, but these are just like the things that I guess we can keep tally of as like these might be the difference makers in like us getting from A to B, B to C with the current composition of the coaching staff. And maybe like when you see a program kind of accelerate maybe past that, like an IU, I'm not saying IU has arrived. I'm just saying a lot of the things around them look great optically, and that maybe has lifted their floor to a point where they can be that new team in the top tier of the Big Ten. Just these little things that like you'd like to see them be those decisions made in a certain way that maybe makes you more aggressive or more likely to win. So it's very nitpicky, but like just as we're talking about 2-point plays, that's something that I thought about where I was like, I'd love to see you have confidence in your own line to go get a yard, especially after what they did on that first drive and the crap that was talked the week prior.
Yeah, we've come a long way since first year Bielema against Maryland on that Friday night game, not going for it on 4th and short twice, I think, in that game, and choosing the punt, and us losing that game. And he took the blame for it. But we have seen him, credit to him, for changing his philosophy a little bit. Yeah, there's maybe still a flash here or there of the old coach and the conservative coach in him. Like
Hmm.
you said, maybe you go for two after they jump offside on an extra point. And you get that yard forward. If you're going for it on 4th and 1 at midfield, you might as well go for it on 4th and 1 on essentially an extra point or a 2-point conversion. So I don't know. I agree with you. I think that's the move. But I wanted to ask you this week, Purdue coming off a big win, us coming off a big win against USC, knowing we have this big game, the Ohio State game next week. Is this the classic trap game scenario right
Sandwich
here?
spot. Yep. You had the big bounce back against USC. You're looking at USC and you had Ohio State. This is the sandwich spot of Purdue. And I know they love talking about the rivalry game and saying all these things, but once again, like I said at the beginning of the pod, like this is just a team that's kind of it. Even though you won last year, it still doesn't look great against Purdue. And this is something where just like I don't feel great. But at the same time, the thing that gives me confidence, if the O line has figured it out, just give Luke time to throw, because that's something where Notre Dame they took Purdue to task because they just gave CJ Carr all the time in the world. And like I said, I think CJ Carr is a really really good quarterback, and he might be a first round pick in a year or two, or I think it's 2 years. But Luke is as a college quarterback of a similar realm. So it's like one of those where you give him time. You saw it against Duke. When he had time, he was carving up Duke's defense, and that was a pretty good defense. Obviously, they were very aggressive, so he wasn't always getting time. I don't really know if this Purdue defense is going to be quite as able to generate pressure. So you give them some time. Maybe it's not quite the quick game that you saw them against USC, which I love that they deployed, because they didn't try to like bury their heads in the sand and be like, okay, we're just going to pass block with, it better. And it's like, no, they adapted. So I'm hopeful that they get Luke some time, but you can't read the press clippings and you can't look forward to Ohio State. That is
Yeah.
for dang sure.
I think Purdue, after playing Notre Dame and USC, is like they gave it their best shot in those games. They used all the tricks, everything they had. And I think for us, we're still not too far removed from that Indiana game, where I think that's still overhanging, or at least the coaching staff can use that and motivate the team. Be like, look, you guys had a good win last week, but 2 weeks ago you got absolutely demolished by Indiana. So like we're not able to sleepwalk. We need to come with our hair on fire, come ready to play. It's a sleepy game, West Lafayette, 11 a.m. And like you got to be ready to go. And I think this coaching staff, and I think the leaders on this team, Luke at the very top, but Gabe Akis on the other side of the ball, they're not going to allow this team to, show up and underperform this game. And I think the offensive line will continue and to build on what they, did against USC. And I think it's time for the defense to step up as well. So I feel pretty good about it this week. Let's go ahead. Give me or I guess I'll give you my pick of the week, my player of the game. I'm gonna go on the defensive line, and I think I'm gonna go to James Thompson Jr. this week. One of your favorite players. I think this Purdue offensive line's beaten down. He's had good games, but he hasn't really. You haven't seen the flashy numbers like a bunch of sacks or anything, but he's been solid. He's held his ground, and he's put pressure on the quarterback. And I think he gets a breakthrough. Has a breakthrough game this week. Give me a sack and a half for James Thompson, and the defensive line just dominating up front this week.
I love it. Great day for him to have a big game. I'm gonna go with Jabo, Justin Bowick. Dude's addicted to catching touchdowns. He only catches touchdowns. I was looking at Purdue's corners, and they have actually some good size on them, like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". I mean, they're college rosters, so who knows how right those are. But even with that, even if they are bigger than that, lends itself to his matchup problems of him being so long and lanky and physical even at the point of attack. I think that he's just gonna. Maybe this is like the breakout of not just being a red zone threat, but especially with some of the news in the wide receiver room, and you have the touted 4-star leaving. Maybe you're setting the rotation a little bit more. Maybe in the past couple games and with all the reactionary stuff, it was like, well, we'll have kind of our main two, maybe it turns to a main three, and then you try and shuffle through numbers 4, 5, and 6. Now I kind of feel like, okay, you've got the big two set with Dixon and Beatty, and I know Beatty's not even getting all the snaps, and Clement's kind of getting the lion's share of the run blocking snaps. So it's like, yeah, the Bo naturally slots in at number 4 there, and you just feed him and let him gain a bit more confidence as we keep going into conference play, because I feel like there's a lot more meat on that bone, that he's not just like this red zone threat, because it you put up the clip of him absolutely breaking a dude's ankles on just a pretty simple slant route, but being able to be that much of a threat vertically, and being able to get inside with ease and get out of your cut and make a great, I mean, it's simple, but making it look simple is what makes it a great catch. And I feel like he's got a lot more there, and kind of I feel like you unleash him at some point. I know that they love their weapons. I know they love Dixon. I know they love Beatty, and I know Clement's kind of like the guy who's emerging as maybe more the consistent threat. But I would love to see Boa get maybe more than just a couple catches, maybe like 7 to 9 targets for 5 or 6 grabs and
Yeah,
70 some yards.
I love it. I did get a good laugh out of the USC fans that entered the mentions after I posted the clip of Bowick on that slant route breaking that kid's ankles, and they were all like, well, he's a freshman that hasn't really played that much. And I was like, yeah, but you still got your ankles taken from you, so that's I don't care who you're putting out
Tough
there.
look.
Still,
USC fans need to come correct. They just need to be better. That's what I think. I think
There's
that's the
not many
biggest
of them.
takeaway of this podcast. Yeah, they need to be better.
I just don't think they're, I don't know, they're Californians, so they're just like too cool to be online like gremlins in the mentions. But there are a couple of them, and they're spreading rumors about stomach bugs, and they're telling us that every single player on their team's a freshman, so it doesn't count. So
Forgot about that.
yeah, oh well. But yeah, Bowick, baby Megatron, as I like to call him, he's got length for days, and like you said, he's addicted to catching touchdown passes. So that's a good trend. That's a good quality to have, and we'd like to see that continue this week.
That's what I look for in my players of the week. Will they catch touchdown passes? All right, they can be my guy for this week. We love it. All right. Well, let's keep the train rolling. Are you going to be perfect this year, Dan? Will Purdue win?
Yeah, Purdue, they're not winning this one. We're keeping it simple. It's Illinois 38-17. It's never really close. Illinois gets the defense playing a little bit better here going into a big game against Ohio State, but you got to focus on the task at hand. And I mean, I was even tweeting about, people were talking about big noon kickoff coming back for the Ohio State game. And I was like, can we just beat Purdue, please? Because I don't want to have what happened last year happen and they sneak up on us and you're winning comfortably and all of a sudden you go into zombie mode and let Purdue come storming back. So we got to put the hammer on them early. I think Luke gets the job done. Our offense seems to be rolling right now, and the Purdue defense is nothing special. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to have a good game offensively this week. And then I think our defense rises to the occasion here and gets their heads right and starts getting a few more stops. I know we got the turnovers last week that honestly prevented it from, Dylan Rosiak with the interception and Jaheim Clark scooping that fumble, prevented it from being an even higher scoring game for USC. And we obviously could have put more points if we weren't fumbling the ball in the red zone, but our offense will be fine this week. Defense, I think, gets some stops. So 38-17, no reason to overthink it. Keep the momentum going into Ohio State.
I love it. Yep. Focus on keeping the cannon. That's the goal. Want to know this week. And I'll keep it simple as well. 45-20, good guys.
All right. That's all we need. All we need to say.
No.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Win this one. Is there a chance? We don't
want to
put the cart
we're
ahead
not
of the horse, but
we can. See, the thing is we're just talking to the ether. No one's listening to us, by the way. No one's actually. We can talk about week 17, 18. We can talk about the playoffs. We can talk about national championship. It doesn't matter. Who cares? No, but the fact, like, we can think about it, and that's the thing that I was imploring people. Like, yes, like think about the fact that we could get to that point, and that can inform how you fan this week. Yes, you can look ahead in that way, but like, yeah, at the same time, it's like, hopefully we're not looking, and we meaning the team is not looking past them to the point that then it's, 17-14 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And you're like, how's Luke going to bail us out again? So hopefully they put it away and we're coming back to Champaign. Really looking forward to seeing how we can take on an Ohio State team.
I'm making a declaration right here. Win this Purdue game, and playoff watch is officially back on.
You contrast that with how we were talking last week, and you'd be like, well, "Who are these? Like, these guys can't figure it out. They don't know what they're talking about." But hey, that's just the emotional side of being a fan, I guess.
Hey, you're talking to a guy that's picked every game right. So when I talk,
sure,
you all better listen because I'm never going to be wrong. Everything I say is right. It's
Put
like
it
when
out there.
Mikey
Yeah.
was on the podcast saying we're going 12-0 every single year. Speaking of, I already talked to Mikey and said if we get the job done here against Purdue, he's down to get back on the
Hopping back
microphone ahead of
on.
the Ohio State game. So we need this win for many reasons, but Mikey Dudek back on the microphone is certainly near the top of the list.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love to
All
hear
right.
that.
Big Ten Network this week, 11 a.m. game on the road. It's the big drum and it's the little cannon, and we have the little cannon, and we're gonna bring it to West Lafayette, and then we're gonna take it from West Lafayette and bring it straight back home to Champaign because Illinois is winning this one on Big Ten Network, 11 a.m. Appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode of the Field Pass. As always, you can follow us on social media. John does some nice video clipping on YouTube. I try to put out a play of the week every now and again, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. If there's anything, any suggestions, thoughts, ideas you guys have, we're always open to it. So send us a message, and we'll see what we can do to incorporate it. But thanks for listening, and go Illini.